Welcome to installing Windows Server 2012 in VirtualBox. So we've got VirtualBox console up and running, create a new machine. We'll give it a name, something exciting like Windows Server 2012 R2. Select the server type or the software type. We've got 2 gig of memory, that's fine. Create ourselves a virtual hard disk. We're going to make ourselves a 50 gig virtual hard disk. I want to change some settings. So we don't want to boot from the floppy disk. So untick that. Storage. We're going to need an installer CD or DVD. So find the disk. So server 2012 evaluation version. And open that. That's an ISO file. Our network we're going to set up as an internal network only. We'll have a couple of machines ultimately connected to this. So we'll start the machine. We could press F12 at this point to select boot options, but it's booting from the CD because there was nothing on the hard disk. Splash screen appears. In a moment we'll get a couple of choices of things. Language to use to install, English. Time and currency format, we're going to choose English Australia right up the top of the English. Keyboard we'll leave as US. Install. We've got a few choices here. We're going to choose the second one, which is standard server with a graphical user interface. License agreement, yeah, let's accept that. And next. We're not upgrading, we're doing an install, clean install, so custom install. We're going to slice our disk into 2 parts, so we're going to format just the first half into 25 gigs. Windows takes its little chunk out of that. And next. We'll come back later and deal with the other half. So this part of the process takes a bit of time. So very shortly we'll fade to black and we'll come back in a little while. So it's about 5 or 6 minutes later and we're nearly complete the placing the files on the hard disk. In a few moments the system will reboot. So we leave the keyboard alone and don't boot from the DVD and let the system boot from the hard disk or the virtual hard disk. This splash screen sits here for a while, anything up to about 3 or 4 minutes, so some of that time has been sliced out by myself in editing. The screen will go blank a couple of times through the process. It can be a bit disconcerting, but after a little while the splash screen does come back. And while we may only be about 6 minutes into this video, we're actually somewhere around about 15 minutes into the install process. Here's something different, a blue screen, and not the blue screen of death. So we add a password for our administrator user. I'm using password 1 with a capital P, so we can look at that with that little icon. I don't recommend you use password 1 on a production system. It's one of the first passwords that an attacker will try. But certainly for the purposes of demonstration and the purposes of playing around here at TAFE, it's an acceptable password and it meets the initial criteria. So here we have our logon screen for the server. This is what we'd be presented with each time. So we send a Control-Alt-Delete to the machine and type in our password. There it is, and go. And here's our desktop. So unlike Windows 8.1, server boots directly to the desktop. It's our Server Manager tool. This is where all of the various tools and products that we're going to need to manage our system. So we'll just minimize this out of the way and make the screen size a little bit more reasonable. So take it up one notch. Means we can fit just a little bit more stuff on the screen in front of us. So here's our Server Manager. We'll come back to this a little bit later in another video. You see there's a number of things, adding roles and features, and a dashboard of what's happening on our server or servers. So we'll minimize that and go over to the Windows icon and over to this area, go to the charms and shut down the machine. Bunch of choices. Probably could have chosen other planned. Doesn't really matter. Now the machine's shutting down. And very shortly we'll be back to the VirtualBox console.